and the right to distill it yourself. People like him who love sheep, say no more. And the culture of the mountains and shepherds. And people like him, and this for me is the most astonishing thing, who eat haggis. Raw. So I think Robert Burns would have found much to appreciate and much in common between the Scottish people and the people of Romania, and he visited Romania today. I think he also would have been absolutely remarkable. He would have been astonished and very flattered to find that his poetry was appreciated here in Romania, and that young people like Dragoș and Mihai were here in Bucharest reciting the poems of Robert Burns. And I feel sure that Robert Burns would want to repay the compliment. And so on behalf of Robert Burns, I've selected a Romanian poem, which I would like to recite this evening. A poem which I think is full of beauty, and it's a poem which can be very much appreciated by any Scotsman, because it's a poem about the mountains. It's a poem about the culture of the mountains. And it's one of the most famous poems in European literature. It's a poem that was published 160 years ago, but is probably much older than that. And the poem is called the Miorita. For those of you who don't know about the Miorita, and I think that's probably a minority in this room, the Miorita is a poem about a sheep. It's a poem about a female sheep, to be precise, the Miorita. And it's a poem which tells an extraordinary story about the rivalry between three shepherds who come from the three different parts of Romania. One is from Moldova, the Moldovian. One is from Transylvania, the Ungurian, and the third is the Vrâncian from Vrância. And they're having an argument. And in fact, it's a very serious argument because two of them, the Ungurian and the Vrâncian, have got it in for the Moldovian, and they want to kill him and take his sheep. But he is warned about this event by this extraordinary sheep, the Miorita, who tells him what's up. And he responds to this warning in an unexpected way. He says, well, look, if they kill me, you tell them to bury me right here next to my sheep, so I can be with you and I can hear my dogs. And he says, and at my head you must put my 3 pipes, so that when the wind blows through the pipes, then I'll hear the music, and the sheep will hear the music, and they'll cry for me. And then he describes his death as being something like marrying a princess. And he talks about the stars falling, and he talks about the mountains being the priests at the wedding, and the birds being the musicians, and the stars being the lights. And then he thinks about his mother. And he describes his mother running over the hills, wondering where he's got to. And he says to Miorita, you tell her that I've gone off to be married to a princess at the gates of heaven, or the Gura de Rai, the very mouth of heaven. I think this is a poem that Robert Burns would have loved, because it's full of romanticism, it's full of mystery, it's full of the life of the mountains and the shepherds. And I love it because, for me, the most beautiful place in Romania is when you're up on those high pastures in the Carpathians, where the air is clear and where you can see the valley far, far down below. And so I want you to imagine yourself in just that place. And you're standing on the high mountain pasture and you see, coming down from the mountains, over the hill, 3 flocks of sheep. You can hear the sheep, you can hear the dogs barking, you can hear the bells, you see the 3 shepherds coming down the mountain. They were petrole plai, the gura de rai, iată de cali, să cobor în valley, 3 turme de miei, 3 ciobăni, unii moldovian, unii ungurian și unii vrâncian. Dar cel ungurian și cel vrâncian măr să gobiră și să sfătuire prin la puste soare, că să mi-l omoare pe cel moldovian. E mai ortoman și are oie mai multe, mândre și cornute și cai învățați
ci câine mai bagați. Dar cea Mioriță, cu lină plăviță, de 3 zile încoace, gură nu-i mai tace, iarbă nu-i place. Mioriță, laie, bucă, laie, de 3 zile încoace, gură nu ți mai tace, ori iarbă nu ți place, ori ești bolnăvioară, drăguță vioară. Draguțule pace, dați-se oile încoace la negru zăvoi, pe umbră de voi și apă de noi. Stăpână, stăpână, îți cheamă și un câine, cel mai bărbătesc și cel mai frățesc, că la pus de soare vreau să te omoare, pace unguriană și cu cel vrăcian. Păiță versană, de ești năzdrăvană, ce da fi să moră în câmp de măpor, să spui lui ungurian și lui vrăcian, că să-mi îngroape aici, pe aproape, în strumbele oi, că să fiu tot cu voi, în dosul stângul, să-mi aud câine, astăzi să-i spui. Iar la capul mi pui, fluiraș de fag, mult zice cu drag, fluiraș de os, mult zice duios, fluiraș de soc, mult zice cu foc. Vântul, când abate prin ele, a răzbate și oile s-or strânge. Pe mine mor plânge cu lacrime de sânge. Dar tu, de omor să nu-mi spui lor, să-i spui curat, că m-am însurat cu o mândră craiasă, a lumii măreasă, că la nuntă mi-a căzut o stea. Soare și lună mi-au ținut cu luna. Ral și paltenaș am avut nuntaș. Preoții munții mari, păsărele în altar, păsărele mii și stele făclii. Și dacă-i zări, dacă-i întâlni, maicuță bătrână, cu bril de lână, cu ochii lacrămând, pe câmp alergând, pe toți întrebând și la toți zăcând, cine mi-a cunoscut, cine mi-a văzut, mândru șobanel, tras printr-un inel. Fețeșoară lui spune laptelui, mustețoară lui spicul gruiului, fețeșoară lui perișorul lui, pana corbelui, ochișorul lui, mură câmpelui. Tu, mioară mea, să te îndură de ea, să-i spui curat, că m-am însurat cu fată de crai, cu gură de rai. Iar la cea mai cuță, să nu spui drăguță, că la nuntă mea a căzut o stea, că am avut nuntaș, raz și paltenaș, preoții munții mari, păsărele în altar, păsărele mici și stele făcute. Miorița. Next year. Let me also just say that I think Robert Burns would also have been astonished too by the tremendous work which has been done here in Romania by Light into Europe.